Hello everyone. This is a true story, as told by a taxi driver in Thailand who experienced it firsthand. A chilling and unforgettable tale. Let's dive right into the story. This story takes us back to 1996, a time when Fat Uncle was still driving a taxi. By then, he was already getting on in years, and he retired from the job in 2002. But the events we're about to recount happened when he was relatively new to the trade, having driven for less than a year. It was an experience so unforgettable that it's etched in his mind to this day. It all unfolded on a quiet night, around midnight, inching toward 1 a.m. Fat Uncle was cruising along Ratchapruk Road, looking for passengers as usual. Back in '96, that road was far less busy than it is now. Sparse with cars, especially taxis, and passengers were hard to come by in the dead of night. Most drivers stuck to busier areas, like near bars or karaoke joints in bigger city hubs. But Ratchapruk was lonely, almost desolate. That night, Fat Uncle was having a rough go of it. He'd been driving all day and hadn't made enough to cover his fuel costs, which was frustrating. Normally, he stuck to the main road, avoiding the smaller side streets, figuring that's where passengers were more likely to be. But something strange happened that night. For reasons he couldn't quite explain, he felt compelled to follow two other taxis that turned into a narrow side alley. He'd never ventured into that alley before and had no idea where it led. Maybe it was curiosity, or perhaps something inexplicable was pulling him in. Seeing those two taxis with their available lights on, he thought, maybe there's a restaurant or a bar down there, maybe some customers. So he made a snap decision and turned into the alley after them. As soon as he entered the alley, Fat Uncle regretted it. The street was pitch black, with barely any lights except a faint glow near the entrance. After driving about 200 meters, it was complete darkness. No street signs, no indication of where the alley led. He started to berate himself, thinking, why did I come in here? There's probably no one around, no restaurants, nothing. The isolation was unnerving, and he felt a growing sense of unease. Just as he was about to turn back, his eyes caught something in the dim beam of his headlights. A woman standing by the side of the road, waving for a taxi. What struck him as odd was that she seemed to be deliberately flagging his car, even though the two taxis ahead of him also had their available lights on, a common feature on Thai taxis back then, where a lit sign on the roof signaled an empty cab. Fat Uncle felt a spark of relief. Finally, a passenger. He pulled over to let her in. The woman opened the back door and slid into the seat without saying a word. Let me paint a picture of her for you. She was petite, with fair skin and long, sleek black hair. She was visibly pregnant, wearing a loose maternity dress that rounded over her belly, which was already quite large. Her face was beautiful, but in the dim light, Fat Uncle couldn't make out her features clearly. What he did notice, though, was her expression. She looked deeply sad, her head bowed, her face tense as if she were on the verge of tears. Something about her demeanor felt heavy, almost oppressive. After she settled in and closed the door, Fat Uncle turned to ask, "Where to, miss?" Her response came in a trembling voice, as if she were holding back sobs. "Brother, please help me find my boyfriend. I've been looking for him for days, but I can't find him." Fat Uncle's heart sank. This wasn't the typical fare he'd expected. His mind raced. What kind of situation is this? He asked, "Where's your boyfriend? How am I supposed to help you find him?" She replied, still staring down, her voice shaky, "I don't know exactly, but I think he might be at a karaoke place around here. Please, just drive around and look for karaoke bars. I don't know where else to go." Fat Uncle's first thought was that her boyfriend was probably out cheating, especially since she was pregnant. He felt a wave of sympathy for her. Her voice, her posture, everything about her screamed heartbreak. Despite his doubts, he agreed to help. "All right, I'll drive you around to look for him, but I don't know this area well. If you're familiar with it, just tell me where to go." For the next hour, they drove from one karaoke bar to another. In Thailand, karaoke bars are often lively spots where people sing, drink, and socialize, sometimes with a seedier side involving paid companions. Fat Uncle figured her boyfriend might be at one of these places. At the first karaoke bar, Fat Uncle parked out front. The woman leaned forward, peering through the window into the bar, but she didn't get out. "Aren't you going to go inside and look?" he asked. "No, I'm too scared," she replied softly. "I'll just look from here." A woman working at the bar approached the driver's side and asked if he was there to have fun. Fat Uncle explained he was just dropping off a customer who was looking for someone. The worker glanced into the back seat, then told him to move the car so it wouldn't block the entrance. Something about her quick dismissal felt off, but Fat Uncle complied, pulling forward a bit before asking the woman in the back, "What now? Want to go inside?" She shook her head. "Let's try another place." They visited 3 or 4 karaoke bars, each time with the same routine. She'd peer out from the back seat, unwilling to get out, while Fat Uncle grew increasingly frustrated. It was a lot of driving for no progress, and he was burning fuel. Still, he couldn't help but feel sorry for her. She was pregnant, alone, and clearly desperate, her voice trembling with every word. After the last bar, with no sign of her boyfriend, Fat Uncle parked and turned on the interior light to talk to her face to face. "What do you want to do now? Where should I take you?" he asked. What he saw broke his heart. The woman was sobbing, her face streaked with tears, her body shaking with quiet sobs. She clutched her belly, whispering through her tears, "My baby, I'm so sorry. I can't be a good mother to you. I'm sorry you have to go through this. Your father's not coming back." Fat Uncle was shaken. He tried to comfort her, saying, "Don't cry, miss. Life has its ups and downs. You're pregnant. Focus on taking care of yourself. Your boyfriend might come back in the morning. Some guys just lose their way for a bit, but you're strong. You'll get through this." His words only seemed to make her cry harder. Finally, he asked, "Where do you want me to take you? Where do you live?" She looked up, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to go home. I want to see my mother." Fat Uncle nodded. "All right, where's your mother's house?" She replied, "Don Tom, Nakhon Pathom." Fat Uncle was stunned. Nakhon Pathom is a province about an hour's drive from Bangkok, a significant trip for a taxi driver, especially at 2 a.m. He hesitated, knowing it might not be worth the fare, but her desperation tugged at him. "I can take you, but it's far. I'll have to charge a flat rate since I haven't even covered my gas today." She agreed, but admitted she didn't have much money on her. "When we get to my mom's, she'll pay for everything." Despite his doubts, Fat Uncle's compassion won out. "All right, I'll take you to Don Tom." By now, it was pushing 3 a.m. Fat Uncle made a quick stop to refuel the taxi, ensuring they had enough gas for the journey to Don Tum Nakhon Pathom. As they set off, he glanced at the woman in the rearview mirror. She sat quietly, her head bowed, still clutching her belly, her face a mask of sorrow. Feeling for her and wanting to ease the heavy silence, Fat Uncle struck up a conversation. "What's your name, miss? Where are you from, and how'd you end up in Bangkok?" Her voice, soft and shaky, came from the back seat. "My name's Dao. I moved to Bangkok with my boyfriend about 2 years ago. I'm originally from Nakhon Pathom. Growing up, my family was poor. My parents passed away when I was young. I was an orphan until my foster mother took me in when I was 4 or 5. She raised me, sent me to school. Her family runs a small construction supply shop in Nakhon Pathom." They continued chatting as the city lights faded into the darker, quieter roads leading out of Bangkok. Dao shared more about her life, her words tinged with a mix of nostalgia and pain. She spoke of her foster mother's kindness, how she'd been given a chance at a better life despite her rough start. Fat Uncle listened, nodding, feeling a growing sense of protectiveness over this young woman who seemed so broken. The conversation flowed naturally, like two strangers finding common ground in the dead of night. It helped pass the time as they drove toward Nakanpatham. As they approached the province, they encountered a large police checkpoint. The road was quiet, with only a few cars passing through at that hour. When it was Fat Uncle's turn, he rolled down his window as an officer approached with a flashlight. "Evening, sir. Where are you headed?" the officer asked. "To Don Tum," Fat Uncle replied. "I'm dropping off a passenger." What struck him as odd was that the officer only shone his flashlight on Fat Uncle, not once glancing at the back seat where Dao sat. Normally, police at checkpoints would check both the driver and any passengers, especially in a taxi at such a late hour. But the officer simply nodded and said, "Safe travels," waving them through without a second look. Fat Uncle found it strange but didn't dwell on it, chalking it up to the officer being tired or distracted. As they continued, Fat Uncle kept an eye on Dao through the rearview mirror. She was still crying softly, her gaze fixed out the window, her body trembling with quiet sobs. The sight of her, so vulnerable, so heartbroken, tugged at his heart. She seemed lost in her grief, her hands resting protectively on her pregnant belly. The road to Don Tum stretched on, and soon Dao began giving directions, guiding him through turns and side roads until they reached a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. It was a typical Thai home, surrounded by a low fence with a small yard and a gate out front. When they arrived, Dao spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is my house, brother. Please wait here for a moment. I'll go get my mom to pay the fare. Thank you so much for bringing me here. I wouldn't have made it home without you." Fat Uncle nodded, reassuring her. "No problem, miss. I'll wait right here." He watched as she stepped out of the car, her silhouette moving slowly as she opened the gate and walked into the house. The night was still, the only sounds the faint hum of the taxi's engine and the distant chirping of crickets. Minutes passed, 2, then 3. Fat Uncle waited patiently, but as the time stretched on, he began to feel uneasy. It shouldn't take this long to grab some money from inside, he thought. Doubt crept in. Had she slipped away to avoid paying? He didn't want to believe it, not after seeing her distress, but the wait was starting to feel wrong. After about 5 minutes, he decided to take action. He got out of the taxi, walked to the gate, and pressed the buzzer a few times. The silence that followed only deepened his unease. After a few moments, a woman emerged from the house. She looked to be in her late 50s, her face etched with confusion and a hint of grogginess, as if she'd just woken up. "Who are you looking for?" she asked, her tone cautious. Fat Uncle explained. "Sorry to bother you, ma'am. I'm a taxi driver. I just dropped off a young woman who said she'd get money from her mother to pay the fare. She went inside, but it's been a while and she hasn't come back." The woman's expression changed instantly, her face paling as if she'd seen a ghost. "What young woman?" she said, her voice trembling. "There's no young woman living here, only me." Fat Uncle's heart skipped a beat. "That can't be right," he insisted. "Her name's Dao. She said this is her house, that she's your daughter. I saw her walk inside just now." At the mention of Dao's name, the woman gasped, her knees buckling. She would have collapsed if Fat Uncle hadn't rushed forward to steady her. "What's wrong, ma'am?" he asked, alarmed. She looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. "Don't go anywhere, driver. Wait here. I'll get the money for the fare." She hurried back inside, leaving Fat Uncle standing at the gate, his mind racing. When she returned, she handed him the fare along with a photograph, a family portrait. "Point to the person you brought here," she said, her voice shaking. Fat Uncle scanned the photo and pointed to a young woman with long dark hair, Dao, though in the picture she wasn't pregnant. The woman's face crumpled and she handed him another photo. "Is this the same person?" she asked. Fat Uncle looked at the second image and his legs gave out.
He sank to the ground, his breath catching in his throat. The photo was from a funeral, showing a memorial portrait of Dao, the same woman he'd driven for hours, talked to, comforted. The realization hit him like a freight train. He'd been driving a ghost.
His mind reeled. He couldn't believe it, didn't want to believe it. He'd never put stock in ghost stories, but this was undeniable. Shaking, he asked, "Who was she? I swear I drove her here." The woman, tears welling in her eyes, said, "Dao was my daughter. She died 3 months ago. It's almost her 100-day memorial." Fat Uncle was stunned, his voice barely a whisper. How did she die? The woman invited him inside, saying, "Come in, and I'll tell you everything. It's a long story." Hesitant, but too shaken to drive back alone in the dark, Fat Uncle followed her into the house, his heart pounding. Inside, the first thing he noticed was a row of funeral portraits on the wall, a common practice in Thai homes to honor deceased family members. Among them was Dao's portrait, staring back at him, confirming the impossible truth. He'd spent hours with her spirit, talking, driving, feeling her pain. The woman, Dao's foster mother, began to share her story, her voice heavy with grief. Dao had fallen in love with a man she met at a temple fair in Nakhon Pathom, a vibrant event where locals gather for food, games, and festivities. They hit it off, exchanged numbers, and soon became a couple. After some time, Dao decided to move to Bangkok to live with him, a choice her mother supported, believing Dao was mature enough to make her own decisions.
For about 2 years, Dao lived in Bangkok, but 6 or 7 months before her death, she started calling her mother more often, her voice filled with tears. She was pregnant, she said, but her relationship was falling apart. Her boyfriend was unfaithful, treating her poorly, and they fought constantly. Her mother, heartbroken, urged her to come home, promising the family would help raise the baby. Dao would cry, venting her pain, but she never agreed to return. In the week before her death, she called almost daily, her despair growing. Then, suddenly, the calls stopped. Worried, her mother tried to reach her, but Dao's phone went unanswered. 2 days later, a call came from an unknown number. It was someone from a charitable foundation, asking if she was related to Miss Tipfawan, Dao's full name. The words hit like a blow. The caller explained that Dao had been found dead in her apartment and asked the family to come claim her body at the hospital. Reeling with grief, her mother rushed to Bangkok. What she learned there shattered her further. Dao had taken her own life, found hanging in her apartment, still pregnant. In her pocket was a note addressed to her mother. "Mom, I'm so sorry. Sorry for leaving, for not telling you what was wrong. Thank you for raising me. I love you the most. From Dao to Mom." Investigations revealed that Dao had been battling depression and was on medication for it, which her mother hadn't known. The note and the medication found in her bag painted a picture of a young woman overwhelmed by heartbreak and mental illness. Her mother believed the combination of her boyfriend's betrayal and her untreated depression pushed her to the breaking point. If she'd known about Dao's condition, she would have brought her home, where the family could have supported her. But Dao had kept her struggles hidden, and the weight of her pain, coupled with her pregnancy, led to her tragic end. Fat Uncle listened, his initial fear giving way to profound sorrow. He realized the depth of Dao's suffering, the sadness he'd seen in her eyes, her trembling voice, her desperate search for her boyfriend. He decided to donate the entire fair to a temple in Dao's name, performing a merit-making ceremony, a Buddhist practice to bring peace to the deceased. He felt that their encounter wasn't a coincidence, that some force had guided him to help Dao's spirit find her way home. It was, in a way, a final act of kindness for a soul in torment.
Remarkably, Fat Uncle continued driving his taxi after that night, Unlike other drivers who might quit after such an encounter, he didn't see Dao's spirit as malevolent, but as a soul seeking help. Her story stayed with him, a mix of compassion and unease, through the rest of his career until he retired in 2002. It was the only supernatural experience he ever had, and he never forgot it. The tale of Dao, the pregnant woman searching for her lost love, left an indelible mark, a reminder of the thin veil between the living and the dead.
Let's travel back to around 2014 or 2015. At that time, Nam was on the hunt for a new place to live. Up until then, she had been staying with her mother, but since she had a boyfriend, she decided it was time to move out and live with him. With this plan in mind, Nam began searching for a suitable place to rent. After some searching, she stumbled upon an apartment building that caught her eye. This wasn't just any run-down place. It was an 8-story building that looked modern and well-maintained for its time. In Thailand, such buildings are often called apartments or mansions, a common term for mid-rise residential buildings. And this one even had an elevator, which was a big plus for convenience. Nam was immediately drawn to it. After liking what she saw, Nam decided to check out the available rooms. She asked the building manager if there were any vacancies, and they confirmed there were. They took her to see a room on the 8th floor, the topmost floor, located on the east side of the building. Everything about the room seemed perfect. It was fully furnished, ready to move in with just personal belongings. The furniture was in good condition, and the apartment had all the amenities she needed. Feeling satisfied, Nam made the decision to rent the room and moved in with her boyfriend shortly after. At first, everything seemed normal, and there were no signs of anything unusual. Life in the new apartment appeared to be off to a great start.
However, Nam's stay on the 8th floor didn't remain peaceful for long. The room, being on the top floor and facing east, was constantly bathed in sunlight, making it unbearably hot. This was particularly problematic for Nam, who worked from home and spent most of her day in the apartment. The heat made it difficult to rest during the day, even with the air conditioning on. Within just 2 weeks, Nam couldn't take it anymore. The relentless heat and constant sunlight streaming into the room were overwhelming. She decided to approach the building manager to request a room change, hoping to find a cooler, more comfortable space. When Nam spoke to the manager, she explained her situation, emphasizing how the heat was unbearable and how it affected her work-from-home routine. To her disappointment, the manager informed her that there were no vacant rooms available in the entire building. Nam, skeptical, pressed further, wondering if the manager was just reluctant to deal with the hassle of a room transfer. She asked again, "Are you sure there's no room available anywhere? I've only been here 2 weeks, but this 8th floor room is too hot. The sunlight pours in all day, and I'm in the room constantly. If there's really no other option, I might have to move out before my lease is up." Her persistence seemed to catch the manager off guard. The young staff member hesitated, looking uneasy, as if they wanted to say something but held back. After a moment of silence, they asked Nam to wait and stepped out to make a phone call, presumably to the building owner. Nam sat in the office, waiting anxiously. A short while later, the staff returned and said, "There's a room available on the 5th floor. Would you like to go take a look?" Nam felt a wave of relief wash over her. Finally, she thought, she could escape the stifling heat of the 8th floor room. She agreed to check out the new room immediately. The staff led Nam to the 5th floor. As soon as the elevator doors opened, Nam noticed an immediate difference in the atmosphere. The 5th floor felt eerily quiet and unusually cool, a stark contrast to the warm, sunlit 8th floor. The hallway looked similar to the one on her current floor, but there was an unsettling, almost desolate vibe that Nam couldn't quite explain. She wondered if she was imagining things, but the chill and quietness were undeniable. They walked to room 507, located in the middle of the hallway. The staff unlocked the door and invited Nam to step inside to take a look. The moment Nam crossed the threshold into room 507, a strong, musty odor hit her. It was the kind of damp, stale smell you'd expect from a room that had been sealed shut for a long time, untouched by fresh air or sunlight. Despite the smell, Nam brushed it off, thinking it was just because the room had been vacant. She inspected the space and found it to be in good condition, with air conditioning and the same fully furnished setup as her current room. Everything seemed fine, and the room felt cooler than her 8th-floor apartment. Convinced it was a better fit, Nam decided to move into room 507 that same day. On her first night in room 507, however, things took a strange turn. After turning off the lights and settling into bed, Nam began to hear odd noises, creaks and knocks, as if objects in the room were moving on their own. She heard what sounded like furniture being dragged or chairs being shifted. Exhausted from the move, and assuming the sounds were coming from a neighboring room, Nam didn't get up to investigate. She dismissed it as nothing unusual and drifted off to sleep, too tired to think much of it.
The next morning, Nam woke up to find her boyfriend already gone, presumably off to work. This struck her as odd because he usually kissed her goodbye or at least said something before leaving. That morning, there had been no farewell, no I love you, nothing. Nam chalked her up to her sleeping too deeply in the new environment, but something felt off. As she got up, she noticed she felt unusually unwell. Her head throbbed, her body ached, and she felt lethargic, almost as if she were coming down with something. She couldn't shake the feeling, but she tried to push through the day. Around mid-morning, Nam decided to ride her motorbike to grab some food, as she hadn't eaten yet. While riding, she suddenly felt dizzy and lightheaded, her vision blurring. Before she could react, she lost consciousness and crashed her motorbike. Fortunately, the accident wasn't severe. She had slowed down instinctively as she felt faint, and the bike only tipped over. Luckily, a group of nearby motorbike taxi drivers, a common sight in Thailand, where Win drivers offer quick rides, rushed to her aid. They helped her to a shaded area, gave her water, and offered smelling salts to revive her. Grateful, Nam assured them she was fine, attributing the incident to not eating breakfast. She returned to the apartment with minor scrapes, but no serious injuries.
Back in room 507, Nam decided to call her boyfriend to tell him about the accident. She dialed his number, but he didn't pick up, even after multiple attempts. Assuming he was busy at work, she let it go. Alone in the room, Nam began to feel an unsettling presence, as if someone else was there with her. Whenever she went to the bathroom, she felt too uneasy to close the door, leaving it open for a sense of security. While lying in bed, she occasionally sensed movement out of the corner of her eye, like someone passing by, but when she looked, no one was there. The most unsettling moment came when she caught a glimpse of a dark shadow flitting across her peripheral vision near the balcony. The curtains, which were closed, swayed as if someone had brushed past them, despite the air conditioning being on and no breeze present. Nam's heart raced, but she tried to convince herself it was just her imagination. As evening approached, around 5:30 or 6 p.m., Nam's boyfriend finally returned home. She tried to engage him in conversation, asking about his day and mentioning that she had called him earlier without a response. She also shared what had happened to her, the motorbike accident, the strange feelings in the room, and the eerie shadow by the balcony. To her surprise, her boyfriend reacted with an unsettling indifference. He barely acknowledged her story, showing no concern for her accident or the disturbing experiences she described. His demeanor was cold, almost as if he were upset or sulking, which was unusual even for him, as he was typically reserved but not this detached. Nam wondered if he was angry with her, but she couldn't pinpoint why. That night, as Nam and her boyfriend went to bed, she tried to shake off the unease. After falling asleep, she was jolted awake by a foul, putrid smell, like something rotting. It was so strong it seemed to fill the room, but Nam was too exhausted to get up and investigate. She lay there, breathing in the stench, assuming it might be something mundane, like garbage left somewhere. Too tired to dwell on it, she drifted back to sleep, hoping it would be gone by morning. When Nam woke up the next day, she immediately asked her boyfriend if he had noticed the foul smell during the night. To her confusion, he casually replied that he hadn't smelled anything at all. His response was curt, almost dismissive, as if he didn't want to engage in the conversation. This only deepened Nam's unease. She noticed he left for work that morning without his usual affectionate goodbye. No kiss, no words of reassurance. It was as if something had shifted in their relationship, but she couldn't understand what she had done to cause this distance. Left alone in the apartment, Nam's condition worsened. The headache and body aches from the previous day intensified, leaving her feeling drained and unwell, as if she were on the verge of illness. She had no appetite and lacked the energy to leave the room to buy food. All she could do was lie in bed, feeling an overwhelming sense of lethargy that was completely out of character for her. She spent the entire day in a daze, unable to muster the strength to do anything, which was alarming for someone as active as Nam.
By around 6 p.m., Nam finally dragged herself out of bed to use the bathroom and splash water on her face, hoping to shake off the malaise. When she looked in the mirror, she was shocked by her reflection. Her face was pale, her lips colorless, and dark circles framed her eyes. She looked like a shadow of herself, almost like someone gravely ill. The sight was jarring, but she tried to focus on washing her face to feel somewhat refreshed. While washing her face, Nam kept the bathroom door open, as she had grown accustomed to doing out of an instinctive fear. As she bent over the sink, she suddenly froze. In the mirror's reflection, she caught a glimpse of a dark, human-like shadow moving swiftly behind her. Her heart pounding, she whipped around to look, but the room was empty. The apartment was silent, and she was alone. Her boyfriend was still at work. The fleeting shadow left her trembling, her mind racing with fear and confusion. Later that evening, around 6:30 or nearly 7 p.m., Nam's boyfriend called to say he'd be home late. He mentioned he was going to a friend's place after work and wasn't sure when he'd be back, suggesting she go to bed if she was tired.
This wasn't unusual, as he occasionally visited friends, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, so Nam didn't think much of it. She decided to go out to eat, despite her lingering headache and exhaustion. Hunger forced her to push through, and she managed to get some food, returning to the apartment around 10:30 or 11 p.m. Feeling utterly drained, Nam decided not to wait up for her boyfriend and went to bed. As she slept, she was vaguely aware of sounds in the room: footsteps, the clatter of objects being moved, as if someone were walking around and rearranging things. In her half-asleep state, she assumed her boyfriend had returned and was moving about the apartment. She even heard the sound of the shower running in the bathroom, which further convinced her he was back. Too exhausted to open her eyes, she let the sounds fade into the background and fell back into a deep sleep. Sometime later, Nam felt the bed dip, as if someone had climbed onto it. She sensed her boyfriend's presence as he lay down beside her, his body brushing against hers. But something was off. The touch was unnaturally cold, far colder than it should have been, even with the air conditioning on. Nam rationalized that he had just showered, which might explain the chill. Still, she didn't turn to look at him. Their recent tension made her hesitant to engage, so she lay there, facing away, trying to ignore the strange sensation and drift back to sleep. In the middle of the night, Nam was startled awake by the sound of her phone ringing. Groggy, she reached for it without checking the caller ID, assuming it was a friend or someone close, as it was too late for random calls. To her shock, it was her boyfriend's voice on the line, sounding irritated. "Where are you? Are you in the room? I've been knocking for ages. Why aren't you answering? Come open the door. I forgot my keys."
Nam's blood ran cold. If her boyfriend was outside, banging on the door, then who or what had climbed into bed with her? Her body froze, her heart racing with terror. She was too scared to turn and look at the bed, her mind flooded with horrifying possibilities. She tried to steady herself, knowing she had to get up to open the door for her boyfriend, but the thought of what might be behind her paralyzed her. Summoning all her courage, Nam slowly turned to glance at the bed. To her relief and confusion, there was nothing there. The bed was empty, the room silent. Her fear didn't subside, though. The experience felt too real to dismiss. Trembling, Nam forced herself to get up and open the door. Her boyfriend stormed in, clearly frustrated. "I've been knocking forever. Where were you? What were you doing?" he demanded. Nam stammered, unsure how to explain what had just happened. She hesitantly asked, "Did you just get back?" He confirmed he had, explaining he forgot his keys and had been trying to reach her. The realization hit Nam like a wave. Something was very wrong with room 507. The strange noises, the shadow, the cold presence in her bed, it all pointed to something unnatural. Despite her growing fear, Nam didn't immediately share the full extent of her experiences with her boyfriend. She wasn't someone who readily believed in ghosts or the supernatural. In Thai culture, belief in spirits is common, but Nam had never encountered anything like this before. If what she was experiencing was indeed a ghost, this would be her first encounter, and it terrified her. She held back from telling her boyfriend everything, sensing his dismissive attitude would only make her feel more isolated. Fortunately, Nam had someone she could turn to for help. Through her mother, she had come to know an older woman referred to as father-grandfather, a respectful term in Thai culture for a spiritual medium or shaman, often believed to be possessed by ancestral spirits. This woman, whom we'll call father-grandfather for simplicity, was a revered figure in Nam's hometown in Lopburi, a province in central Thailand. Nam's mother had met her through community connections, and father-grandfather was known as a rung song, a medium who could communicate with spirits and offer guidance. Nam had met her once before when her mother took her to a ritual, likely a Bai Sri ceremony, a traditional Thai blessing ritual to honor spirits or mark significant life events. Initially, Nam was skeptical about father-grandfather's abilities. She wasn't one to easily believe in spiritual matters, viewing such practices with a degree of doubt. However, during the ritual she attended, Nam witnessed father-grandfather's remarkable insight. The medium accurately described the personal struggles of attendees, identifying their issues and offering specific solutions, often involving making merit at a temple, a Buddhist practice of performing good deeds to accumulate spiritual merit. Nam's mother vouched for father-grandfather's authenticity, explaining that she didn't accept money directly. Instead, she required those she helped to make merit at a temple, passing down her spiritual role through generations in her family. If someone failed to follow her instructions, their troubles could worsen, a belief rooted in Thai spiritual traditions. Convinced by her past experience and desperate for answers, Nam called her mother and poured out everything she had been through: the strange noises, the shadow, the cold presence in her bed, and the motorbike accident. Her mother, deeply worried, urged Nam to come home to Lopburi immediately. "Come back, and I'll take you to see father-grandfather," she said. Nam agreed, feeling a glimmer of hope. She informed her boyfriend that she'd be visiting her mother for a couple of days. He acknowledged her plans but showed little interest, asking no questions about her trip, which struck Nam as odd and unlike his usual self. As Nam left the apartment to catch a van to Lopburi, interprovincial vans are a common mode of transport in Thailand, she noticed something remarkable. The moment she stepped out of the building, her headache, body aches, and lethargy vanished. Her energy returned, and she felt normal again, as if a weight had been lifted. The contrast was stark. She hadn't realized how oppressive the apartment's atmosphere had been until she left. This only deepened her suspicion that something was terribly wrong with room 507. When Nam arrived in Lopburi and met her mother, they went straight to see Father Grandfather, who had been informed in advance. Before Nam could even speak, Father Grandfather looked at her and said, "You've encountered it, haven't you? That's why you're here." Nam, stunned, gave a nervous smile and nodded, admitting she thought she had experienced something supernatural. Father Grandfather's expression grew serious. "It's trying to take you with it," she said. Nam's heart sank, and her mother gasped, both gripped by fear. Nam hadn't yet told her mother about the motorbike accident, so the medium's words felt like a chilling confirmation of danger. Pressing for answers, Nam asked what was happening to her. Father Grandfather explained that in her visions, she saw a woman's spirit in the room where Nam was staying. She couldn't discern the exact cause of the woman's death, but confirmed that a restless spirit lingered in room 507, intent on causing harm and possibly claiming Nam's life. The medium's advice was clear. You need to move out of that room as soon as possible, within a day or two if you can. She also instructed Nam to bring her boyfriend to a temple to make merit together, emphasizing that this joint act was crucial for resolving the situation.
Nam faced a dilemma. How could she convince her boyfriend to move out when he seemed so unresponsive to her concerns? Father Grandfather advised her to persuade him to visit a temple together, assuring her that discussing the matter there would yield results. With this guidance, Nam returned to Bangkok, determined to follow the medium's instructions. Luckily, it was a Saturday, and her boyfriend was home. Instead of going up to the apartment, Nam stayed downstairs and called him, pretending she needed him to bring down his wallet, phone, and car keys because she wanted to show him something. She knew that if she went upstairs and suggested going to a temple, he'd likely refuse, given his recent aloofness. After some time, her boyfriend came downstairs, looking puzzled, but carrying his belongings as requested. To Nam's relief, his demeanor seemed normal. No trace of the coldness or irritation he had shown in the apartment. His eyes were clear, his tone friendly, as if the tension between them had vanished outside the confines of room 507. Seizing the moment, Nam explained that she had visited her mother, who took her to see Father Grandfather, a medium they both knew from a previous encounter. She told him Father Grandfather had warned that her luck was low and urged them to make merit at a temple. To her surprise, her boyfriend agreed without hesitation.
At the temple, after completing the merit-making rituals, which typically involve offering food to monks, lighting incense, and praying, Nam felt ready to open up. She recounted everything: the eerie noises, the shadow by the balcony, the cold presence in bed, and the motorbike accident. Her boyfriend's reaction was immediate and genuine. His face showed shock and concern. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked, clearly worried. Nam explained that she had tried, but he had seemed distant and uninterested, as if he wasn't listening. To her surprise, he admitted he didn't recall acting that way and felt guilty, insisting he hadn't meant to ignore her. The conversation took a serious turn as Nam insisted they needed to move out of the apartment. She explained that Father Grandfather had warned of a spirit in room 507 that posed a danger to them both. Her boyfriend, now fully attentive, agreed that if she had experienced such terrifying events, moving out was the only option. The temple visit seemed to have broken the strange barrier between them, and they decided to leave the apartment as soon as possible, unwilling to risk staying any longer. Curious to uncover the truth about room 507, Nam and her boyfriend began the process of moving out. Nam approached the building manager to inform them of their decision to leave. Since they were breaking the lease early, having stayed less than a month when the minimum term was 6 months, she expected to forfeit their deposit. Determined to get answers, Nam shared her unsettling experiences with the manager. The strange noises, the shadow by the balcony, the cold presence in her bed, and the overwhelming sense of unease. She pleaded, "If you're going to keep my deposit, that's fine. I'm moving out regardless. But please tell me, does room 507 have a history? Is there something about a woman dying there? The manager, a young staff member, seemed startled by Nam's question. They hesitated, stammering as if caught off guard, their expression betraying unease. It was clear Nam's account had struck a nerve. After a moment, they offered a compromise. "Okay, you can move out and I'll refund your deposit." Nam appreciated the gesture but pressed further, insisting, "That's not the point. I just want to know what's going on with that room. Is it true there was a death there?" The manager avoided a direct answer, remaining tight-lipped and refusing to confirm or deny anything. In Thailand, property managers often avoid disclosing such incidents to protect the building's reputation, as stories of hauntings can deter tenants. Frustrated but unsurprised, Nam realized she wouldn't get answers from them.
Determined to uncover the truth, Nam turned to another source, the security guard who worked at the apartment building. She approached him, explaining that she had just moved into room 507 and encountered disturbing events. To encourage him to open up, she offered him 500 baht, about 15 USD, a significant gesture in Thailand to show appreciation or incentivize information. "I'm leaving this place," she said, "but I need to know. Please, tell me what happened in room 507. At first, the guard seemed reluctant, his expression uneasy, as if torn between speaking and staying silent. But with Nam's insistence and the small token of gratitude, he finally relented and shared a chilling story. According to the guard, about 2 years earlier, room 507 had been the site of a tragic incident, a murder. A couple had lived there, but their relationship was tumultuous. The man was unfaithful, frequently bringing other women to the apartment when his girlfriend was away, a behavior known as having a minor wife in Thai culture, a colloquial term for a mistress. The couple argued loudly and often, their fight so disruptive that neighboring tenants regularly complained to the management, asking them to intervene. For reasons unclear, perhaps love, dependency, or other personal factors, the woman stayed with him despite the infidelity. One day, the man returned home and opened the apartment door to a horrifying sight. His girlfriend lay lifeless on the floor near the bathroom, close to the balcony. Her body was cold, her face pale, and she was unmistakably dead. Next to her was an empty bottle of toilet bowl cleaner, surrounded by saliva and yellowish fluid, suggesting she had consumed the entire bottle in a desperate act. The guard recounted how the man, in a panic, alerted the management, security, and police. The authorities investigated, and the woman's body was removed. The man moved out immediately after, unable to stay in the apartment where such a tragedy had occurred. What made the situation even more unsettling was the aftermath. No relatives of the deceased woman came forward to perform a traditional Thai funeral or spirit-calling ceremony, a ritual to guide the soul to the afterlife, common in Buddhist and animist practices. The management had only the man's contact information from the lease, but he became unreachable, cutting off communication entirely. The lack of a proper ritual left many to believe the woman's spirit remained trapped in room 507, restless and angry. The guard revealed that the incident had caused a mass exodus from the building, particularly among tenants on the 5th floor. About 80% of the original residents moved out, especially those in rooms adjacent to 507. They reported hearing a woman's voice crying, wailing, or pleading for help in the dead of night. Some claim to have experienced disturbances as early as the 3rd night after her death. The story spread, fueling fear and prompting many to leave. The guard's account confirmed Nam's worst suspicions, that room 507 was haunted by the spirit of a woman who had died tragically. Reflecting on her experiences, Nam began to piece things together. She wondered if the spirit's lingering resentment stemmed from her own failed relationship. Perhaps seeing Nam and her boyfriend living together as a couple in the same room stirred the spirit's anger,
causing the tension and arguments between them. This was Nam's own theory, a way to make sense of the inexplicable discord that had emerged between her and her boyfriend, who had been happy together before moving into room 507. Whether this was true remained a mystery, but it felt plausible given the spirit's tragic history. In the end, Nam and her boyfriend successfully moved out of the apartment and found a new place to live. Once they left room 507, the strange occurrences stopped entirely. No more noises, shadows, or oppressive feelings. The couple made a point to visit temples more frequently, making merit to cleanse themselves of any lingering negative energy. They also returned to Loburi often to visit Nam's mother and consult father-grandfather, grateful for the medium's guidance. Without her warnings and advice, Nam believed her situation could have turned out far worse. Perhaps the spirit might have succeeded in taking her with it.